Well, hey there. Okay, I am going to show you how to do a really cute summer scarf in the Ewrap owl stitch. I named it that because I thought someone else might come up with it because it's made out of Ewrap and then my owl eye stitch, which is starting to get quite well known, but so far no one has, so I'm naming it the Ewrap owl stitch because that's exactly what the stitches are, Ewrap and owl eye. And you can see here how it looks, and it has a really neat effect. And the reason for this is Ewrap is a stitch that curls, and the opposite of Ewrap is purl. So if you mix Ewrap and purl, you shouldn't get curling. Owl eye is balanced by itself. 2 rows of owl eye in a flat panel is not going to curl because it's the nature of the way it's wrapped. There's enough movement going the opposite way to balance it, but it is not the opposite of Ewrap. So if you were to do a scarf and do it 4 rows of Ewrap, 4 rows of owl eye, you're going to get curling. The owl eye is balanced, but the Ewrap is curling, so it's going to curl. And you would have to do a proper edge treatment to use it that way. You wouldn't be able to do it with no pearls in that case. Now this one, I don't have to use any pearls at all, and it's completely flat, as you can see. But depending on the way you knit your tension, maybe you would end up having a curl, because even people who do garter stitch, some of them end up having a curl. So do a swatch, and if you find that you have some curl, you could always do a couple pearls at the edge and the bottom, but you shouldn't need them. I haven't needed them, and I did a number of swatches. So I'm going to get a really close look so you can see how it interacts. The Ewrap is slightly coming to the surface, probably because of the nature of the way it curls, and the owl eye is retreating behind it. So what it does is give you this really nice kind of a texture ridge. So it looks really pretty, and it's so fast and easy to do. I realized from the way it looked, because I'm doing it in a ribbon yarn for summer. It's a summer print. It's Rico Design Fashion Summer Print. It's a bulky 5. It's pretty thin, bulky 5, but it is a tape kind of yarn, not a tube, but it has a lot of stretch to it. It doesn't really have a color anywhere. It's just number 10. So that's this, and that's what I'm doing this in. But I did a swatch for you in Charisma so that you could see what it would look like in a blanket yarn. And I managed to get the 2 colors coming out of that ball, so you can see how it rises up here on the teal color a lot more easily, but you can also see it even rising up on the black and giving you a really nice stitch for any kind of a blanket or scarf or anything you want to make. So this stitch can be used for just about everything, and it's really, really fast to do. If you do it in the round, of course it's not going to curl, and it still looks really good. If you know, Ewrap looks different in the round and flat. The Ewrap will have a slightly different look, and the owl eye won't be quite as curvy. It will be a straighter stitch, forming into a cool shape, but it looks really nice in the round too, this stitch. So this was Charisma. I'm not sure what the color was, but that doesn't really matter. I just was trying to show you what it would look like if you made a blanket or something, and just to kind of show you the value of doing swatches, because swatches will tell you what it's going to look like as you get further, and it will tell you if you need something more because it's curling, or if you should put it on a different loom or use a different fabric, or all kinds of things. And if I go into my bag, I can show you that I actually did swatches also before I did my hat, which I'm working on. And in that hat I got 2 stitches here. So I got the stitch I'm using for the brim, and then this stitch in the round. I didn't do much of it, I just did it enough to see if it was going to work in the round, and I liked the way it looked because then the owl eye is coming in this shape in a bunch of stacks, and it still has the tendency to have a kind of the it to have this kind of a slight ridge look, but not as pronounced as in the flat panel. And then of course this part that I was using for the brim is a different stitch that I still haven't released at this point that I'm doing the video, but it will be up there soon. And oh geez, I had the wrong way around, so here we are. Here's the brim. I was wondering why I wasn't seeing enough stitches, and here's your E-wrap, and here's your, I talk about being prepared for your video, but anyway. Oh, silly me. So this is the owl eye here, and here are the E-wrap stitches here. And that's what I'm using for my hat. And I liked the swatch so much when I tried the flat panel, I was like, I got to keep going. So I did the stitch video, and I was only going to do this as a stitch video, but it's so pretty. I decided, well, gee, I'm doing a hat in this. Why not have a matching summer scarf? And a nice thin summer scarf would be nice with it. So I'm going to do the scarf video. So I'm just going to put you on pause because I better put some of this away. It's kind of messy for me to knit. And we'll get back and we'll start showing you how to make this, but keep in mind that with this stitch you can do all kinds of other things and what it looks like in a bulky material for blankets or thick scarves or whatever you want to do. Although these are both number 5, this one knits up much more bulky and it's a lot thicker. If I put it beside the tape, it's just big and fat, and the tape is thin, especially to the side, even though it's wide. That way it's very narrow to the side, so when it knits up it's more like that, so it's a lot thinner material. Okay, so I'll be right back. Okay, so we're about to get going on this video, and I'm going to show you what the bind cast on looks like. It's got a nice braided look. The sides, the way I'm doing it, give you this. See if we can get it. So it's not so bright. Come on, camera, focus. There we go. That's a bit better, but yeah, it's hard to see it, isn't it? There, that's a little bit better. But there, if I can get it to face the camera, just a slight braided look here. That's nice and tight so it won't snag on things. Okay, and if you look at the back, this is what it looks like. No purls. It's a, come on, focus. There we go. This camera, there, come on, there we go. This camera's having a hard time focusing today for some reason, but that's what it looks like on the back. Okay, so what we do is I've marked the 2 pegs on the side and the 2 pegs on the other side, and I've done it on uneven stitches, and that's so both sides look the same on this, because we want it to have start with the E-wrap here, and we want it to start with the E-wrap here after the edges, so that makes the stitches odd. So I've marked the 2 that will always be owl eye. I've marked all the stitches that are going to be E-wrap, which is every second stitch with a little marker. I've got a yellow marker here every 2 stitches. And then I've got the yellow marker with the E-wrap going to be right beside the 2 that are both going to be owl eye. So you've got the 2 pegs that go together at the end, and then you're going to put in a marker or tape or something, or if you don't need to mark them, that's fine, but you'd mark here, then here, then here, then here. So if you were to count the pegs you're marking, you got 1, 2, every end things, you're going to be marking 3, 5, 7, 9. You're going to be marking odd pegs. Okay, if that helps. And I'm going to use this to show you the cast on, and adjust my camera here a little bit so we can make sure we get this loom in here. Okay, now to get started, all you do is take this and make a loop and then put the working yarn through it, and you have a slip knot. And then let's say we're going to start here. I've marked this to be the same as what we're doing over there to show you how to get started. And we just put it on. And this incidentally is the tube yarn that you can use instead of this, but I did swatches and I liked the look of it in this ribbon yarn a lot better than I did with the tube. So I'll probably use this tube for bags. Okay, so we take the working yarn and we go inside the loop here. See if I can get it a little bit closer, inside the loop, and then we're just gonna scoop up the working yarn through it in a big loop. So we got the loop here, and then I'm going to take the loop and put it behind peg 2, take the working yarn, put it through the loop, and snug it up. Put it behind, through the loop, snug it up. Behind the peg, through the loop, snug it up. Behind the peg, through the loop, snug it up. Behind the peg, through the loop, snug it up. So that's all you do, and we're just going to go down to the end. So I'm doing it exactly the same amount of pegs as I did here, and I only did 11 pegs because I just wanted a thin scarf, but you're very welcome to do a lot more pegs than that. You can make any size you want, as I said, up to blanket, shawls, whatever. This stitch will work with everything. Okay, and then you take the loop and just put it over the last peg and pull it tight, and then you can just knit it over and you are cast it on. And then we're just going to do 2 rows of owl eye, and 2 rows of owl eye are balanced, so we want to do 2 rows, and then we're just going to this over and we start our owl eye stitch. Now any peg you're on is peg 1, so you're just going to wrap peg 1, go over peg 2, and knit them over. You're on peg 1, go over peg 1 and 2, and knit them over. You're on peg 1, go over peg 1 and 2, and knit them over. You're on peg 1, over peg 1 and 2, and knit it over. And that's all you do. So I'm just going to go to the end, so I get you all caught up to where you need to be to join me on the work I'm doing over there. And we get to the end, we wrap over the 2, we come back, wrap them again, knit them over on peg 1, wrapping peg 1 and 2. And that's all there is to it. And you just go to the end of the row, and then we're ready to start over there. So I'll pause it again and clean this up so that we can get over there. Okay, so here we are, and I've already done those 2 end stitches, so I'm going to show you how you do this. Now the first peg is marked, so it's just going to be an Ewrap, and you go from behind to wrap in front to do the first of your owl eye stitch, and you go around the back to do the second of your owl eye stitch, but you're not going to go over that one, so just hold it to the back, do your second one, and then into your Ewrap for the peg that's marked, back to your owl eye, knit it over again, do your Ewrap. So you're always going to have 2 stitches on these unmarked pegs, 1, 2, and 1 Ewrap on the other peg. Okay, and then we come here and do the 1 for owl eye and wrap it again and wrap the end peg and knit them over. Come back to the end peg and just put the working yarn over 1 and 2, keeping it loose. If you can't keep it loose, knit them 1 at a time, but also you can just pull it to loosen it. So it's easy to loosen it if you find you're knitting too tight. And then like this, and again if you're too tight, you can just always do that. But this next one's an Ewrap. So, and Ewrap it. And then I'm going to show you the way I do it because it's a lot faster. I come over, I do my owl eye stitch, I do the other one, and just go into the Ewrap. So over to do the owl eye, instead of knitting it over, just do my Ewrap like that. Basically it's a figure 8. And there, we're done. Come over to do the owl eye, knit it over, come over and do the Ewrap. Do the owl eye, come over and do the Ewrap. So that's how fast it is to actually do, and you can just whiz along if you're making a blanket or making anything. And then you get a little bit more of a look than just using either owl eye or Ewrap. So it's a nice change. It gives you a nice pattern. Okay, so I'll just do one more row. Ewrap, owl eye, over to Ewrap, owl eye, over to Ewrap, owl eye, over to Ewrap, and then wrap. Second last peg, come wrap around both of them, and then wrap them both to turn around. And then of course you'll do the other stitch, do the owl eye, and come to do this. So that should be enough to get you going on the stitch. So I'm just going to keep going for a while, and when I get long enough we can check in, or maybe I'll just go all the way to where I'm going to cast off and show you what the finished scarf looks like. So okay, I will catch up with you when I'm further along. Okay, so I'm back and I've got my scarf as long as I want it. It's a little over 40 inches, which is just what I wanted for a summer scarf. And so I'm ready to bind it off. And so to bind it off, we're going to do the same thing we did when we cast on. We're going to do 2 rows of owl eye, and then we'll do the bind off. And that way it'll look exactly the same on this edge. So we do owl eye for 2 rows. And I guess I'll just put you on pause. You don't need to see me continuing to do owl eye for 2 rows, and we'll catch up here and we'll do the bind off. Okay, so I'm back here and we're just going to do the bind off. So first we need to measure our yarn. So I'm going to take the yarn and put it the width of this, and then come back to the beginning and then go maybe about halfway more. I got 2.5 times, and just take my scissors and cut it, and then I'm going to put it on my tapestry needle here, and there we go. Okay, so I'm just going to take this working yarn and put it over here, and I'm going to go down. So I'm going to go down the loop on number 2 peg, and there, and just pull that, tighten it, there. This yarn's a little bit different to bind off because it's so stretchy and it's a ribbon. And then we're going to go up number 1 peg, like that, and give it a tug, and then we're going to go behind number 2 peg and down number 3 peg, and pull it tight, and up number 2 peg, the peg before. So we're always going to be going, we're going to tighten it. We're always going to go behind the peg, down the new peg, and snug it up the peg before, and then behind and around the peg we just did, down the new peg, up the peg before, and then behind and down the new peg, up the old peg, behind the peg we did, the new peg we had done, down a new peg, up the peg before, behind, and that's all we do. Same motion all the way through. Go down the new peg, up the old peg, and behind, down the new peg, up the old peg, and behind, down the new peg, whoop, up the old peg, and behind, down the last peg, up the old peg, and behind it, and we'll go up, and that's all we need to do. And I always come up to make sure it's secure, and just do a little knot like that through, so it's just right here in the middle, and take the yarn off and then just take it off the loom. I just work it up a little bit because it's tight. There we go. So I can just gently take it off. And there, looks like just a bunch of big loops, doesn't it? But we just have to work it a little bit. And there, yes, such a stretchy yarn. And then we can compare it with this other side here for width, and they're fairly the same. And for look, although we got a colored yarn in here, I crinkle it a little bit, and then it looks a lot more alike. There we go. So further away, oh, there we go, there's the camera. They match up pretty good. And then here's our scarf all done, and there it is. And again, just to look at it, and you can see the pretty texture. There we go. And you can see how it looks at different angles. There's the Ewrap rising above it here. And we can look at it this way. There. Now there's one that's really showing the textured look. There we go. Now that's really picking it up. There we go. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the video. And oh, and then with your end, you're just going to put it on the needle and weave it in, actually. I'll show that. I already weaved in the other end. You do the same thing with the other end. I always end up doing that because I hate to see it dangle. And so what I do is the yarn's coming this way, I just put it through so it's on this side. Get over here, you. So it's on the wrong side. And then you just weave it in. You just go under a top loop. There's one there. And you just weave it in. Make sure you're not pulling anything really tight. And you can weave it back again. Same direction. Just going under some top pieces of yarn, and that's all there is to it. And pulling it. There we go. This ribbon yarn, really wide one way and thin another way. And there, that's all you have to do. Wind it in. I'm probably wind it in one more time, and then you just cut it, and yeah, that's all you have to do. And okay, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, we'll see you.